It was raining the day Claire Dalton buried her husband. Not a soft drizzle, but a torrential downpour. As if the sky itself mourned the man everyone believed was taken too soon. Jacob Dalton, 38 years old, former Navy officer turned software contractor, had vanished 2 months prior during a supposed business trip to El Paso, Texas. His car was found abandoned along a rural stretch of desert highway. No blood, no signs of foul play, just an open door, an engine still warm, and a wallet lying on the passenger seat. Search parties had combed the desert. Drones flew overhead. Dogs sniffed every cactus and crevice. But Jacob had simply disappeared. Weeks later, a decomposed body turned up 60 miles south of the border, mutilated and nearly unrecognizable. Dental records made the ID. Claire received the news with a scream that echoed down the hospital hallway. She collapsed, clutching her belly, 6 months pregnant with their second child. Everyone said it was a tragedy. Everyone told her how strong she was. But no one could explain why. In her quiet moments, Claire felt something off, something unresolved. Her husband hadn't been sick. He hadn't seemed scared or depressed. And the police gave her no answers beyond wrong place, wrong time. Claire buried him in a closed casket. She placed a single blue hydrangea on the mahogany lid, the same flower he used in her wedding bouquet. The chapter closed, or so she thought. 3 months passed. The baby came, a girl named Hope. Claire held her in the hospital, swaddled in white, and whispered a promise into her ear. "No one will ever leave you, not like he did." The house felt colder now, not from the weather but from the absence. Jacob's favorite mug sat untouched on the kitchen shelf. His hoodie still clung to the hook by the front door, worn at the elbows and smelling faintly of aftershave. Claire had begun to heal, not move on exactly but survive. She slept in short stretches. She smiled at her toddler son's antics. She even laughed when her sister took her out for coffee. Then one night her phone rang. 1:13 a.m. Unknown number. She almost let it go to voicemail, but instinct made her answer. Static. A breath. Then a voice. "Claire. Don't hang up." Her heart stilled. "It's me." She couldn't speak. Couldn't even breathe. "It's Jacob." The line went dead. She called the police. They told her it was probably a cruel prank. "These things happen," the officer said, "especially after high-profile deaths." But Claire knew that voice. The way he said her name, only Jacob said it like that. With the pause, with the wait. She stayed up all night, heart pounding, staring at old photos. Could it be? No, impossible. He was buried. There was a death certificate, DNA. But something inside her whispered, "Check again." The next morning, she called the medical examiner's office. She demanded access to the records, the autopsy photos. At first, they refused. But with the help of a lawyer and a media nudge, she got them. And what she found made her blood run cold. The body they buried, missing a birthmark Jacob had on his left shoulder. And the dental records, based on an outdated chart never cross-verified with his most recent scans. Claire's hands shook. Her mind raced. She hadn't buried her husband. It started with whispers, faint sightings that never led to answers. A friend from church swore she saw someone exactly like Jacob in a grocery store 2 towns over. Claire dismissed it. Grief could make people see ghosts. But then came another. A coworker of Jacob's, one of his old Navy buddies, called her one night. Hesitant, uneasy. "Claire," he said, "I don't know how to say this. I thought I saw him last week at a gas station in Modesto." Her breath caught. "You're sure? I served with the guy for 5 years. You don't forget a face like that." Claire drove there the next morning, baby in tow, eyes scanning every corner of the city. She asked clerks, showed photos. Most people just shrugged. But one cashier at a liquor store paused. Yeah, I think I've seen him. Comes in for cigarettes. Quiet guy, pays in cash. Never talks much." Claire left her number. She didn't sleep that night. The next day, her phone buzzed. A text. No name, no number, just an address. and one line, "If you want the truth, come alone." The house was run down, more shed than home, on the outskirts of town near an abandoned railroad. Claire parked a block away and walked. Her palms were sweating. Her heart thudded in her ears. When she knocked, the door creaked open, and there he was, Jacob, alive, thinner, faint beard, dark circles under his eyes, but undeniably him. Claire staggered back. Why?" He looked away. "I'm sorry." "No," she snapped. "No apologies. Just tell me the truth. What is this? Who did I bury?" He didn't speak, just stepped aside to let her in. The inside smelled like mildew and fear, a mattress on the floor, a few canned goods, and a duffel bag stuffed with burner phones and cash. Jacob sat down, took a long breath. "I didn't die, Claire. I ran." He explained it like a confession. "I was into something bad, something I couldn't get out of. A government contract, a cover operation. They said it was classified. But then they asked me to do things, illegal things." Claire blinked. "What kind of things?" He hesitated. "Let's just say, people got hurt. And when I tried to back out, I got threats." He reached into the duffel and pulled out an envelope. Inside, photos of her, their son, the house. "They said if I told anyone, they'd kill you. So I staged my disappearance. Paid a guy to drive my car out to the desert. Got help from someone on the inside. And then I disappeared." Claire couldn't breathe. "You left me. You let me mourn. You let your children grow up without a father. I did it to protect you." She slapped him. Tears blurred her vision. "I buried a stranger, Jacob. I thought I lost you forever." But the worst was yet to come. Because Jacob didn't just disappear to protect his family. He disappeared because he had something powerful that people were still willing to kill for. Claire couldn't think, couldn't feel. Her husband, whom she'd buried, grieved, and cried for, was now standing in front of her, very much alive, whispering about government contracts, staged deaths, and threats to their family. But there was something worse than all that. He wasn't telling her everything. She saw it in his eyes, a flicker of something deeper, guilt, fear, maybe both. "What are they after, Jacob?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "What did you do?" He turned away. "I took something I wasn't supposed to," he said. "Evidence. Proof." "Proof of what?" Jacob pulled a metal case from beneath the mattress. Inside was a small, encrypted hard drive. Names, locations, transactions, operations, things that were never supposed to leave the black files. But they were hurting innocent people, Claire. Women, kids. I couldn't stay silent. Claire stared at it. The sleek black casing pulsed with implication. "You were a whistleblower? I thought I could expose it, do the right thing. But they caught wind before I could leak it. That's when the threats started." He looked at her now, eyes pleading. "I faked my death to keep you safe. I stayed gone to keep them from finding you." A long silence filled the room. And then Claire said the one thing he didn't expect. "Then why come back?" He flinched. "Because someone else knows I'm alive now. I got sloppy. And if they know, they might come for you." Claire's blood went cold. "Are you saying someone's watching me?" "I don't know. But I can't take the risk." Suddenly, the shadows in her own house. Those faint creaks, those cars parked too long across the street, felt less like paranoia and more like confirmation. She grabbed his arm. "We have to go to the police. Or the FBI. You can't keep running." But Jacob shook his head. "I can't trust anyone. Not yet." Just then, a noise outside. A soft click. Jacob rushed to the window and froze. Two men in black stood across the street, near Claire's car. One had a radio. The other reached under his jacket. Jacob whispered, "Too late." He threw the hard drive into Claire's diaper bag, grabbed her wrist, and bolted out the back. They ran through back alleys, hearts pounding, shoes slapping against concrete. Claire kept looking back, expecting gunshots. None came. Not yet. They hid in a motel on the outskirts of town. Claire rocked her baby while Jacob paced, glancing through the blinds every 30 seconds. And that night, as the baby finally drifted off, Claire sat across from him and said, "Tell me the truth, all of it. I deserve that much." Jacob nodded, and what he told her next would shatter everything she thought she knew about their marriage. Because this wasn't just about whistleblowing. It was about betrayal. And Jacob wasn't just a target. He was also a traitor. Claire sat still, her eyes locked on Jacob. The soft hum of the motel air conditioner was the only sound, slicing through the tension like a razor. "You need to tell me," she said, voice low, trembling. "What did you do, Jacob?" He didn't look at her at first. Instead, he reached into the duffel bag, pulled out a worn manila envelope, and slid it across the table. Inside were photos, not of government agents, not of war zones, but of a woman, pretty, brunette, young, smiling. Claire's stomach twisted. "Who is she?" she whispered. Jacob stared at the floor. Her name was Elena. Claire already knew the answer to her next question. Her gut screamed it. She was more than a friend, wasn't she? He nodded almost imperceptibly. "It started during my last deployment. We were isolated, cut off. Things between us, between you and me, were already strained. I was weak. I made a mistake." Claire felt something in her shatter, but she didn't cry. Not this time. "She knew about the operation," he continued, "but I didn't know she was working both sides." Claire looked up, confused. Both sides? She was feeding information to the group we were trying to expose, selling secrets. And when I found out, I confronted her. That's when everything changed. She disappeared. A week later, the threats started. Jacob leaned forward, voice hoarse. "I think she's alive, Claire. I think she framed me. And I think she's the reason they're still hunting me." Claire felt like the floor beneath her had turned to water. "So what was it really?" she asked. "Running from the government? Or running from her?" Jacob didn't answer, and that silence told her everything. The next morning, the motel door had a scratch down the frame. Someone had tried to open it in the night. Jacob installed a security wedge under the doorknob. Claire barely slept. Every car that passed outside made her flinch. They were running out of time and options, but Jacob had a plan. "We leak the hard drive," he said. "Let the world see what they're hiding. If we go public, they'll have to back off." Claire looked down at her sleeping child. "And if they don't?" Jacob said nothing. They found a journalist, one of the few left who still had a reputation for uncovering deep corruption. A woman named Nora Blake, an investigative bulldog with a sharp tongue and sharper instincts. They met her in a diner off I-5. Jacob handed her the drive, hands trembling. Nora flipped through the files on a secure laptop. Her eyes widened. "This is enough to bring down a chunk of the Department of Defense." She closed the laptop. "But if this goes live, Claire, your family will be in the center of a war." Claire already felt like she was in one. Her heart beat for her child, but her blood now carried betrayal, bitterness, and bruises from the man sitting beside her. She looked out the window. A black SUV drove slowly by, its windows tinted. They weren't just on borrowed time. They were out of it. The leak was set to go live in 48 hours. Nora had her team working around the clock, verifying files, scrambling legal protections, prepping the story. But she warned Claire and Jacob. Once this information hit the public, there'd be no putting it back in the bottle. No safety net. No second chances. Claire sat in the back of the news van, rocking the baby to sleep, the lullaby playing softly through her phone. The world outside was spinning, but inside, she was holding on to the only innocent thing she had left. Jacob paced beside her, fidgeting with the burner phone. His paranoia had evolved into something feral. "We should run," he whispered. "Go off-grid. Canada. Disappear again." Claire shook her head. "Running won't fix what you did." And that's when she said it out loud for the first time. "You broke everything, Jacob. You betrayed me. You let me bury an empty casket and believe you were gone. You shattered our daughter's future before she even had one." He didn't defend himself. He couldn't. That night, Nora arranged for them to be relocated to a safe house just outside Sacramento. A small cabin, far from eyes and surveillance. But Claire couldn't sleep. Something about the woods, the quiet, the absence of street noise. It didn't feel safe. Felt like bait. At 2:17 a.m., the baby stirred. Claire got up, cradling her, whispering gentle reassurances. She stepped to the window, needing a breath of air, and froze. A red laser dot hovered on Jacob's chest. She dropped to the floor, screaming his name. A crack of gunfire shattered the silence. Glass exploded. Jacob pulled Claire and the baby down behind the sofa as two more shots ripped through the window. He grabbed the emergency pistol from the duffel, scanning the darkness outside. "They found us," he hissed. Outside, headlights snapped on. Black SUV, tinted windows. A silhouette with a rifle emerged from the tree line. Claire clutched her child and whispered, "What do they want from us?" And then Jacob said the one name she never expected to hear again. "Elena." Claire's breath caught. "She's alive." "She's not just alive," Jacob said, his voice cold. "She's leading them." They slipped out the back into the trees, running. Branches clawed at Claire's skin. The baby wailed. The night swallowed their footsteps. And for the first time, Claire didn't know who she feared more. The woman hunting them, or the man beside her who'd once loved her and lied to her in the same breath. They reached a deserted ranger station by dawn. Nora sent a car. No police, no questions. Just a single note. 24 hours. Is going live. Be ready. But Claire wasn't ready. Not for what was coming. Not for the truth that still hadn't been told. Because somewhere deep in Jacob's silence, she could feel it. There was one last secret left. And it might be the most devastating of all. They were ghosts now. Claire, Jacob, and the baby lived minute by minute, holed up in an underground journalist safe house near an abandoned rail line. The only light came from the cracked overhead bulb and a sliver of sun through a boarded window. The news was already starting to shift. Whispers of leaked government documents. Names redacted. Operations exposed. Nora's story was coming slowly, deliberately, but it would hit in less than a day. Still, something ate at Claire. It wasn't the danger. It wasn't Elena. It was Jacob. Something in him had changed. Not just the guilt or the fear, but a weight behind his eyes. A shadow that hadn't lifted since that night in the cabin. He hadn't touched the baby in hours. Barely spoke. Wouldn't meet Claire's eyes. And finally, as the clock ticked closer to 0 hour, she confronted him. "You're holding something back," she said. "One last thing." He didn't argue. He just nodded, sat down across from her, and let out a long, shattered breath. "I didn't come back because of guilt, Claire." She stared at him. "What do you mean?" "I came back because I thought I was dying." Claire felt her heart lurch. Jacob went on. "I thought the people chasing me would catch up, that I wouldn't make it out alive, and I couldn't die without seeing you, without seeing her." He glanced toward their sleeping daughter. Claire's voice cracked. "So it wasn't about saving us. It was about saving yourself?" "No," he said, tears forming in his eyes. "It was about atonement. But there's more. And this is the part one haven't told anyone." He opened the encrypted phone. A single file. One labeled, "Elena Mission Brief." Claire watched as the screen lit up. A photo of Elena, in military gear. "She wasn't just a mole," Jacob said. "She was a contractor, hired by us, embedded to infiltrate the same cell I was investigating. We were partners, until I found out she was playing both sides." Claire felt like the air was thick with fog. "You mean, I didn't kill her," Jacob said, "but I left her to die." Silence. "She begged me, said she had a child, said she could explain everything. But I didn't listen. I told command where to find her. And when they sent the strike team, she was gone. They thought she died." Claire stood slowly, voice trembling. "So now she's alive and hunting you?" Jacob nodded. "And I deserve it," he said. Claire couldn't process it all. Her dead husband had come back to life, dragging a trail of betrayal and blood behind him. Now a ghost from his past was closing in, fueled by revenge, rage, and something far more dangerous: truth. That night, Claire dreamed of two women. One betrayed by the man they both loved, one seeking vengeance, and herself caught between them, torn between a past she buried and a future she hadn't yet chosen. She woke to the sound of a phone vibrating. A message from Nora. "It's out. The world knows. Get ready." Claire turned to Jacob, but he wasn't in the room. The door was open, and a trail of wet footprints led outside into the shadows. He had disappeared again, but this time, he left the gun behind. The world had changed overnight. Nora's expose ignited like wildfire. Headlines splashed across every screen. Covert operations, name leaks, high-ranking cover-ups. The public was stunned. Politicians scrambled. The agency Jacob once worked for disavowed him immediately. But for Claire, none of that mattered. What mattered was that Jacob was gone. Again. No note, no call, just footprints into fog. She stared at the baby monitor, watching their daughter breathe softly in her sleep. In the chaos of everything: governments, assassins, betrayals, this child was the only truth that hadn't changed. And that morning, another truth arrived. Nora came to the safe house, a laptop under her arm and a file folder clutched tight to her chest. "He left something," she said quietly. "Sent it to me before he vanished. Said you deserved answers." Claire's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Inside, an old photo of Elena, a letter, handwritten, and a small thumb drive labeled simply, "What I owe her." She inserted it into the laptop. A video began to play. Jacob appeared on screen, hollow-eyed, speaking as if it were his confession and eulogy. "Claire, if you're watching this, I'm gone, and I need you to know the whole truth. I didn't fake my death just to run from the agency. I ran because I couldn't protect you. They were going to use you to get to me. Elena found out. She warned me, said they were planning to leverage my family, my daughter. That's when I knew none of this could touch you. I thought staying dead was the only way to keep you safe. But I was wrong. And when I came back, it wasn't for redemption. It was because I couldn't live with the thought that I never gave you the truth." Claire's eyes welled with tears as the screen flickered. "There's one more thing. Elena, she wasn't just my mission partner. She was your sister." Claire jolted. The room went still. A ringing in her ears drowned out everything else. The pieces fell into place. The shared resemblance. The way Elena had always known too much. The fragmented memories of her estranged half-sibling. The one her mother never talked about. The one who disappeared when Claire was just a teenager. Jacob had known, and he'd said nothing. Elena wasn't just hunting a traitor. She was hunting family. For betrayal. For abandonment. For the twisted revenge only a broken sister could understand. Nora sat stunned beside her. "That changes everything." Claire rose, numb. "No, it just makes the truth uglier." By sundown, Claire stood outside the safe house, holding the photo of Elena in her hands. She turned it over. Written on the back, in Jacob's scribbled handwriting, "Find her before she finds you. Tell her I was sorry. Tell her I loved you both." The wind howled through the trees. In the distance, Claire saw a shadow just for a second. A figure watching her from the tree line. Long hair, dark coat, gone in a blink. But Claire didn't run. Not this time. She stared into the dark and whispered, "Come out, Elena." The knock came just after midnight. Not loud, not rushed, just deliberate. Claire sat by the fire, baby asleep upstairs, pistol resting in her lap. She didn't flinch. She'd been waiting for this moment. She opened the door. There she was, Elena. Her face was thinner than the photo, but her eyes, those same sharp, storm-gray eyes, looked like a mirror of Claire's own. Older, harder, wounded beyond repair. For a long beat, neither woman spoke. Then Elena stepped inside. No weapons drawn, no screaming, no accusations. just the weight of a shared history that neither had the words to explain. They sat across from each other in silence. Claire finally broke it. "He told me everything." Elena's jaw clenched. "You were my sister, my blood, and he used that." "I get it now," Claire said, voice shaking. "But I don't understand why you didn't come to me first." Elena laughed bitterly. "Because no one ever came for me." She told the story then. Her side. How she'd bounced through foster care while Claire's mother remarried and kept her second daughter a secret. How the agency recruited her young, brilliant, angry, desperate to matter. How Jacob was the only one who ever saw through her mask. "He promised me justice, family, and then he left me to burn." Claire nodded. "He was wrong." Pause. Then, "I'm sorry, Elena. Not for Jacob. For the decades of silence. The hidden bloodline. The family that failed both of them." Elena didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply handed Claire a small package. "This is everything," she said. "The files Jacob stole. Names. Evidence. The ones who turned us into weapons." Claire looked down at the flash drive. "Why give it to me?" Elena's voice was ice and ash. "Because I'm tired of running. And because you have something I never did." She glanced upstairs, toward the sound of the baby stirring. A reason to survive. Then Elena stood to leave. Claire didn't stop her. But at the door, Elena hesitated. "Tell her," she said quietly, "when she's old enough, who I was, why I watched from the shadows, why I didn't pull the trigger." Claire nodded. "I will." The door clicked shut, and Claire sat in the silence of a house that had seen too much grief, too much truth. She held the drive in her hand. One final piece of the puzzle. The next morning, Nora published the second part of her exposé, this time with help from Claire. The real story. The betrayals. The buried sister. The dangerous man who thought faking his death would free him from consequences. By nightfall, Claire sat with her daughter on the porch, holding her close. "I buried your father once," she whispered. "But I buried the lies today." The world didn't end when the truth came out. But it changed. The agency Jacob once served was dismantled piece by piece. Whistleblowers came forward. Politicians distanced themselves. Quiet hearings were held behind closed doors, and louder protests echoed through city streets. But for Claire, justice wasn't in the headlines. Justice was quieter, slower. It was in healing. She moved to a coastal town far from the city, where her name was still whispered, still tied to a scandal too wild to be believed. She chose somewhere no one knew her. No one expected anything. Somewhere her daughter could grow up without shadow or suspicion. Every evening, Claire would walk the shoreline. Some days, she imagined Jacob beside her, laughing like he used to, holding their daughter high above the tide. On other days, she'd wonder if Elena was out there somewhere, watching, protecting, redeeming herself in silence. One afternoon, a package arrived in her mailbox. No return address. Inside, a simple locket. She opened it. One side held a photo of Jacob and the baby. The other, a tiny picture of Elena as a girl. And behind it, folded once, a note in neat, slanted script. "Blood isn't always who you're born to. Sometimes it's who fights for you in the end." Claire cried for a long time. Not for Jacob. Not even for Elena. She cried because for the first time in years, she felt safe. Years passed. Claire built a life. Quiet, steady, unremarkable, but honest. Her daughter grew curious. One day she asked about her father. Claire took a breath and told her. Not all the details, not yet, but enough. Enough to know he had loved them both. Enough to understand that truth and love are rarely clean, rarely simple. "But where is he now?" her daughter asked. Claire looked out the window to the sea. "He's gone," she said, "but he left behind a truth that changed everything. And that truth was hers now." What do we take from this? That sometimes the ones we trust most wear the best masks. That secrets can bury you deeper than any grave. That love, when twisted by lies, can become the most dangerous weapon of all. And yet, there's still room for redemption, for family found in the ashes, for truth, even if it comes too late. What would you do if the person you buried came back with a secret that could shatter your entire life? Tell us in the comments. Subscribe to True Crimes Archives for more stories that uncover the shadows we hide behind. And remember, some truths refuse to stay buried.